So, ladies and gentlemen, today I have a special treat for you. My man Patrick David from Valuetainment. We're gonna go in deep behind the scenes because it's easy to see entrepreneurs with success, but a lot of times we don't know what's behind that machine. So today, hopefully, we can dig a little deep and go behind the scenes and see what really is inside Patrick. So, Patrick, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
It's good to be with you.
Thank you. And I like to say again, I love your background.
I appreciate that.
I love that. So, 1995, I was in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba,
Okay.
military. And we were there not for when Al Qaeda was there. We were there because Cubans were supposedly coming to America illegally and they had them on a camp.
Mhm.
And what I remember about that time was how happy the Cubans were at that time because they were basically in somewhat of a camp. And in those circumstances, you would think a lot of people would be like, I don't know about this. Like, this is a sad situation, but they were singing, they were dancing. And what I learned in that situation was they were coming to something better. And they couldn't wait to touch that soil in America and get to work,
Mhm.
right? And that immigrant spirit, you had something similar happen in your life. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, 10 years old, around 10 years old, is that when you came to the US?
So, 10 years old, I escaped Iran 6 weeks after Khomeini died.
Hmm.
June 3rd, Khomeini dies. I lived in Iran for 10 years. 6 weeks later, we escaped. We go to Germany at a refugee camp. And then November 28, 1990, we came to the States.
Okay, now when you say escaped, what does that look like? What does that mean?
Well, I'm 10 years old at the time, and any boy in Iran that turns 10 years old, you cannot leave because you have to serve the military there. So
Right.
my family had to escape in a way that, yes, we're coming back, but we never came back. This is why I haven't been to Iran since then. And although I'm thinking about visiting later on this year, if I do, there's a possibility of them keeping me because I didn't fulfill my obligation of serving in their military, and I served in the enemy's military, which is America.
And we're going to get to that also. 101st Airborne Unit, right? That's out of Fort
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you're going to go back with the risk.
I'm not going to go back with my kids and my wife. I'm going to take some of our camera guys. So if we get arrested, we're all getting arrested here, making a nice video. What do you think, Jessica? We're going to get arrested doing that. She crossed her arms saying, shoot, we're not getting arrested.
Wow.
So that's where we're at.
Very brave of you. Okay. So do you remember that time? I know you
Oh,
were young when you saying escape. So how did that? Was it like, okay, it's 12 midnight. We have what we have on our back, and we're gonna get on the truck. Like what was that night like or that day?
yeah, let me tell you. I mean, I clearly remember when we left everything behind. My mother owned a Renault, which they call Renault in America, but a Renault. My dad had a Gion. My father stayed behind to try to sell everything. We snuck into the airport and we were going through the entire gate. They were checking everything out with us. And I am just scared because nothing is legit until you cross the border and they let you drink alcohol. So the most beautiful lines were when they said, "We have crossed the borders. We are now serving alcohol. Would anybody like to drink alcohol?" That was the magical line when you know you were free. So it was I remember that last conversation with my dad when we were exchanging and giving jewelry back. The less jewelry you'll have, the more they'll let you go through because they're going to ask you, why are you taking all that? It's just small little things that doesn't have a lot of meaning, but I remember those things vividly.
So Patrick, what would have happened if they would have caught you guys and found out that you were doing something wrong, illegal?
First of all, my dad would have probably gotten arrested. My mother, depending on what mood they were in that day, they could have done different things. I would have been in the military. I would have stayed there. I couldn't have left. I'd have to serve the military, and I would have probably stayed there till 22, 23 years old.
Wow. Okay. So at this point, you guys are headed to Germany, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. What was that like? You're landing on the soil in what part of Germany, by the way?
I lived in Erlangen, which is about 20 miles outside of Nuremberg. This is where we live.
Okay. So you arrive there, and what is it? Guards meet you at the airport, or like who
No,
meets you?
just regular. We once we were off, it was like you were off, and then we went to the refugee camp where we stayed at, and it was other refugees who were escaping their countries, whether it was Albania at the time, or Yugoslavia, or Czechoslovakia at that time. Now it's a republic. Poland. It was just Pakistan, Afghanistan. All of us were together. So we lived in these. They look like barracks. They almost look like military barracks. We lived in them for 18 months until we finally got our papers and our green card to come to America. I'll never forget when I came home and my mother said we got our green card to come to America. And then we came to the States. It was a strange time, but actually that was the place where I learned how to sell and how to make money. I learned how to sell and make money in Germany. First time I ever made money on my own pen, I was 10 years old when I started collecting beer bottles at a local pool. Yeah. I wanted to buy the new Super Mario Brothers that was coming out, and there was this girl on the refugee camp named Katarina who was just beautiful. Her brother and I were friends, and so her brother liked Nintendo, and I liked his sister. So if I get the Nintendo, you play with the Nintendo, I'll play with your sister. And that's literally what would happen. I brought the Nintendo to his house, and I would say, I'm going to go away with your sister. And I was 10, 11 at that time. And by the way, we reunited, her and I, about 5 months ago in Madrid. We hadn't seen each other since 1990. Pretty interesting 27-year reunion. There was a lot of strange stories we were talking about.
Well, I bet, because you're married. You're a married man now.
Oh, yeah. I went to the whole camera crew. So the entire time we had camera crew around me. So it's not like I'm in the adult entertainment business. I'm just going to visit an old friend.
Okay. So you guys have that connection.
Yeah.
When you came to America, and because I know before you came here, you had said in one of your videos that you were watching Rocky, you were watching American movies, you were getting that mindset. What did you think of the place when you arrived there?
I was looking for Scarface, man. I was looking for Sylvester Stallone. I was looking for the Gremlins. I was looking for the Ghostbusters, because I landed in New York. I was looking for, what's his name? Godfather. What was his name in the movie? Corleone, right? I was looking for all these guys because these are the movies we watched. And I didn't see any one of them. I didn't see any one of them. No, I just kind of went to the airport and I'm thinking everyone's a celebrity. Literally, my initial reaction was I thought every American was a celebrity to me. How crazy is that?
Really?
Every American was a celebrity. We landed in L.A. At that time in Glendale. They called us phobes or fobs, which is fresh off the boat.
So okay.
I didn't speak English very well, so certain words I had a hard time with. Like at that time, the show that everybody watched was Gilligan's Island. I don't know if you remember
Gilligan's Island. Yeah.
I used to call it Gilligan's Island, because the S is silent, and I don't know the difference.
Yeah.
I didn't say Wednesday. I said Wednesday. Certain government. I would say government. So I was entertainment for a lot of the white kids, man, who were looking at me saying, "Who is this guy who doesn't know how to speak English?" So that's how the whole thing got started.
But man, New York is a very expensive place. And,
it is.
And you're arriving here at 10, and I don't know, your mom and you, do you guys have a lot of money in your pocket?
We landed in New York, and then we moved to Granada Hills, California. We just landed in New York first. It was a 6-hour layover, and then we came to LA. I didn't live in New York because New York, now we didn't come to America with money. My dad was a cashier at a 99-cent store, and my mother, we were a welfare family. We had nothing when we came to the States. Listen, I've never lived in a house in my entire life until I bought a house. Never in my life have I lived at a house. It was always a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom place. Never. I've never had a backyard. When I lived in Iran for 10 years, we never played outside. We've never had that. So we didn't have that luxury.
But Patrick, in these circumstances, that seems like that would be a lifestyle to drive a man to have a low self-esteem or grow up. Because I don't know, when you were coming up as a kid, but were you picked on? Was life hard for you? I mean, what was that like?
I mean, listen, I don't want to sound like a victim because I'm not a fan of victims. I don't want to
Mm,
feel like, I was, for me, I was the luckiest man alive because I can eat banana. And in Iran, if you had one banana every 5 years, you were rich. So you're trying to tell me
wow.
every day I can eat banana? That's crazy. I mean, you're out of your mind. I'm eating ananas. Ananas is pineapple.
Hmm.
That's a rich man's fruit.
Mm,
You know, you're trying to tell me I can eat a kiwi a month? No, man. I
mm.
mean, this is heaven for me. And I'm living in California, where the greatest sports team in the history of mankind, Los Angeles Lakers,
Wow.
and I'm able to live in a city like that.
Hmm.
I was in heaven. For me, it was great because listen, even the worst day in America was still better than the best day in Iran being bombed on. So it didn't matter what
Wow.
was taking place, man. I was just a happy kid.
Wow. Okay, so you're learning the language, you're going to school, you're kind of, thrown into this American culture. How is school for you? What is that like?
I was a distracted kid. The only class I paid attention to was math. I liked math a lot. I had a 1.8 GPA, and then I paid attention to my history class and ceramics class because the girls were drop dead gorgeous in those two classes. And then outside of that, I did very little attention. I had a teacher named Mr. Woods who really liked me,
Hmm.
and I had a teacher named Miss Sinclair who eventually was a major in the army. She was the one that encouraged me to join the army. She was very
Wow.
good to me. So I
Wow.
wasn't a kid in high school that. By the way, I've never played organized sports in my entire life. I'm 6'5", 240. If you see me, I'm 6'5", 240. I've never played organized sports.
Wow.
At 13, 14 years old, I lied on a job application because my family needed money. So I said I'm 16 years old, and they hired me at Haagen-Dazs. And I started getting paid at Haagen-Dazs. I was, making what do you call it, banana splits, and I made some ridiculous banana splits for people at the mall. Man. Glendale, if
Mm.
you came and had my banana split, you'd remember till today how good that banana split was.
Wow.
We had a
You,
good time.
I have to say, from what I'm hearing so far, your life sounds like every other successful entrepreneur. Not that great in school. Attention span really wasn't that great. And you're thrown into this environment and you're surviving. It seems like a regular entrepreneur. Richard Branson, I know he had dyslexia and like, were you ever diagnosed with ADHD or anything like that?
Oh, listen, we didn't have that level of education in Iran for them to diagnose me with anything. If we had it, I'd be diagnosed with every single thing. I mean, I was a little bit off. I always knew I was a little bit weirder than the rest of the kids. Something was different. Something was weird. So,
Something was weird. Okay, so you graduate high school, and I know the coach is asking you, "Hey, man, you gonna join the basketball team because you have height?" But you're focused more on I got to get money for the family.
yeah, I was working. I always was working. I was always working, selling. I was always finding a way to make more money. So yeah, I didn't play any sports. Although I love baseball, I love basketball. I was probably a better baseball player than a basketball player, but never organized. Never organized.
Okay. So military, what did that do for you? Did they give you some discipline? What was that experience like?
I mean, listen, I graduate high school. I'm going to Glendale Community College. One night, I run out of money. I asked my sister to let me live with her. So one night, this was in Encino, California, Burbank Boulevard, and Havenhurst. I'm in her apartment. She has a studio. It's not even a one bedroom. I'm sleeping on the floor. The jacuzzi downstairs. I had like 8 friends downstairs at the jacuzzi.
Wow.
And we were drinking a little bit. We were contributing to the stock of vodka around the world that night. And next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, just bad situation. And the management comes, wants to evict my sister. And, I go to sleep. I don't make it to my job in the morning. So I get fired by Burger King, which out of all the jobs in the world, if you're going to get fired from one of them, Burger King's not a bad one to get fired from.
Yeah.
I get fired. And then that morning when I go downstairs to go to my car so I can make it to work and go to school, they stole my car, the 1983 Toyota Corolla. that 6 months later we found it in Tijuana when I got a police report that the car ended up being in Tijuana. So that day, I called my dad at 10 o'clock in the morning when I woke up and the car wasn't there. I said, hey, Dad, I need you to take me to the recruiting station because I'm joining the Army. I didn't call a friend. I didn't call my girlfriends. I didn't call anybody. I just said, and my dad hung up, came, picked me up. He said, that's exactly where you need to go. I went to the recruiting station. I said, if you can get me a job that I leave tomorrow, I'll join today. If I need to wait 3 to 6 months, I'm not joining the Army. What? They gave me a Hummer mechanic position. 4 weeks later, I was in the Army.
Wow.
Yep.
How long did you stay in the Army?
2.5 years. They had a delayed entry program at the time that was 2.5-year program. I think I got $25,000 of GI Bill that they were given at the time. But yeah, I went to the Army 2.5 years. Just one of the best decisions I ever made in my life is joining the Army.
Why is that?
You had to do laundry on your own. You had to fold your clothes. You had to clean. The expectation was higher. You had to wake up early. You worked 100 hours a week. I'm in an environment that people are from Mississippi, Alabama, North Dakota, South Dakota. They've never met an Iranian before, so it taught me to learn culture. I learned about other cities, other states. I learned how to handle people that had a lack of education about Iran and stereotypes, and I had to learn how to overcome that and communicate that with them. Just a lot of good skills, a lot of good things that military offered, lots of them.
You know, so I remember when I was into the military and I'm back into civilian life. At that moment, I was scared because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm out of the military. What the heck am I going to do? What was it like the day you got out of the military? You're done. You're finished.
Let me tell you, man, it was I know the feeling, and I only did 2.5 years. When I ETS and I got out, it was June of 99. I got out because I was also becoming a citizen, because at the time I joined not being a citizen of U.S. I just had a green card. So I went and became a citizen. And for the first month, I had no clue what I was going to be doing. Like literally, I had no clue what was going to happen. I didn't have a steady job. I went to become a Hummer mechanic for a Hummer dealership in Camarillo. They were going to pay me $13.50 an hour, but they only needed one Hummer mechanic, and they already had a guy. So outside of that skill set, I know how to shoot a rifle. It's not like I'm going to go around being a hitman, you know, that just I look like a hitman. So that would be a bad job for me to do.
Yeah.
So I went in, I was a bodybuilder at the time. I said, I'm going to work at a gym. So I went and worked at Ballet Total Fitness and got into sales.
Got into sales. So now you're like what is that, like a physical trainer or something like that? Or are you selling membership?
I didn't sell personal training. I sold memberships is what I did. I sold memberships for you to become a member of Bally's.
Got it. How long did you stay there?
9 months. 9 months until I met a girl from a real beautiful African-American girl named Jean-Pierre. We started dating, and she was an advisor at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. We met at Venice Beach. She approached me. We started talking, and we'd go out all the time. Had a wonderful time with this girl, and she says, "What are you doing with your career?" I said, "I'm going to be a top gym membership salesman in America." And she starts laughing at me like, "What the hell is this guy saying?" I said, "I'm good at selling these memberships, I'm telling you." She said, "No, you're not going to be doing this." She says, "You need to figure out a different products to sell." So she encouraged me to go into the financial industry. I applied. I got a few offers from Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, and that's how I got started in the financial industry a day before 9/11.
The day before 9/11?
It was a Monday. 9/10 was my first day when I started. A man named Dave Kirby offered me a job, which, by the way, after leaving Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, I have not seen Dave Kirby until I said his name on a video on YouTube, and one of the guys went and searched every single Dave Kirby on Facebook until they found him. Dave Kirby sent me a message, so we're now reconnected. I'm visiting when I'm going to LA. Pretty wild story. I would ask him, "Why did you hire me?" I don't have a 4-year degree. The Morgans, he had a waiver, like he had to sign a waiver because I was the only person they hired that year that didn't have a bachelor's degree. That was a minimum requirement for Morgan Stanley Dean Witter.
Wow.
But he did a job, and that's where I got my Series 7. So,
well, okay, man, we all know the story of 9/11 and what happened to the stock market and everything. And here you are a day before. What is that like?
So day one, everyone's on the phones. Everyone's jacked up, fired up. Everyone is excited. They're introduced me to the guy. This guy in the corner office makes 700. That guy made partner. He's making 400. This guy golfs every day. That guy comes in work in his shorts every day at 1 o'clock. He deals with his clients in the morning and he comes because he golfs every day. I said, wow, this is a pretty cool industry. And then 9/11, the next day, it's 5:30 in the morning. We have a manager's meeting at 6:30. One of the main brokers from the corner screams, turn on the monitor, turn on the monitor. We turn on the monitor. The first plane had hit. And that was the Morgan Stanley headquarters. They had 3,600 employees in there. And then we saw the second plane hit live. The moment we saw the second plane hit live, our manager, Dave Kirby, said, go home right now. Because we were on a high rise and, he said, go home right now. We all went down the elevator and got in the cars and left. It was 6:30 in the morning. Wow. Pretty wild. Nobody on 9/12 wanted to call anybody. The phones were ringing off the hook nonstop, and all the brokers were afraid of picking up the calls.
Wow. So here you are, like days on this job. What is going through your mind? Like, oh God, like this is not going to last, or you're going to stick through this? What's going through your mind?
Yeah. So, Dave Kirby said something very interesting. He sat down all the new brokers and he said the following. He says, guys, I want to tell you this. If I were you, I would leave the industry because the next 5 years is going to be very, very hard. He says people are not going to trust investments. People are not going to put their money in investments. People are going to stay liquid. A lot of them are going to take their money out. So you're not going to be able to get people to buy stocks, mutual funds, all that stuff. It's going to be tight. So if you choose to get away from the industry, I am not upset. I would encourage it. I'd support your decision because it's going to be very hard. There was a guy there whose name was Shaq. He was an insane, Asian kid with a fancy degree from USC and good-looking guy. And I said, this guy's going to kill it. He left and he got a job at a bank. Wow. A bunch of these guys, another girl named Sol, who was a graduate from UC Berkeley. She scored a 1560 on her SATs. I scored an 880 on my SAT. This girl did a 1560. And she left and she got a secure job. And everybody left. I stayed in the industry. And I said, I'm going to make this thing work.
Wow. And why did you say you were going to make it work? At this time, did you have a family? And you didn't have a family then. I
didn't have a wife and kid. I was by myself. I had a girlfriend of mine who we were, engaged, serious relationship. We're about to get married. I just believe in numbers. I believe in numbers. I think life is all math. I think everything around us is numbers. And if you don't respect and appreciate numbers, you're going to be paying a big price for it. Mm-hmm. And if you know how to explain the value of numbers and educate people properly and accordingly, people will listen. And I think our community, the community I was a part of, the Middle Eastern community, no one is servicing the Middle Eastern community who are not making over $250,000 year income because that was the minimum. So I said, you know what? I'm going to stick around and I'm going to find the niche and I'm going to help my community out. And, I saw an opportunity there. And it ended up obviously working out because right after Morgan Stanley, I went to Transamerica. I was there for 7.5 years. And then in October of 2009, I started PHP with 66 agents out of Northridge, California. And now we have over 4,000 agents in 49 states.
So what gives you the confidence to start PHP on your own at this time?
I believe that capitalism works. I believe capitalism is a mathematical formula. And the reason why I believe capitalism works is because if you figure out a way to treat people better or do something better, and then differentiate yourself in an area or two, and then you have a market. And I knew that's exactly what was going to happen. I'm a firm believer that if you don't take care of your people, somebody else will. I am a very firm believer of that. Marriage works that way. If you take care of your girl, you take care of your husband. What are you worried about him leaving you or her leaving? If she does, that's her fault. It's her loss. It's his loss. It's not your loss. I don't control if you want to do something foolish. I'm comfortable with the way I treated you. I don't mind if I lose a salesperson or an agent or an employee because I'm going to do my part to make sure this thing's going to be a great opportunity. And I felt at the time where I was at, that was in the case in the book Barbarians to Bureaucrats. The author Lawrence Miller talks about how every organization, every society, every company goes through a few phases. First, you have the prophet, then you have the barbarian, then you have the builder, then you have the explorer, then you have the administrator, then it's the bureaucrats, then it's the aristocrats that screw the whole thing up. And then you hope there's a synergist to bring the whole thing together. I was at a stage where the company was filled with bureaucrats and aristocrats. And when somebody thinks they're more special than you just because they've been around more and longer than you, but they're not putting the effort today, I have a problem with that because capitalism doesn't respect that. Capitalism respects just playing the game good today. Meaning, look, everybody knows Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. You can debate it all you want, but that guy's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. But if you wanted to put a team together this year to win the championship, Michael Jordan's not on your team. He's not. Because he's 55 and he doesn't have what he had when he was 28. Matter of fact, the worst NBA player today is probably better than Michael Jordan's today 55-year-old. Maybe not the worst. I'd say the top 80% players are better than MJ today. So sometimes when you're playing a business, you got to know that if you ain't in the game, I don't know about that. You got to find people that are in the game. And we were in the game. We were in the hunt. And we felt pretty confident about what we were going to do.
You know, Patrick, I always say it's easier for a person to go to Harvard if they know someone that went to Harvard. At this time, you have really no example of how to run a business or someone. Well, let me ask you first. Do you have anyone that you're looking up to and say, I want to be like that? Like the kids would say, I want to be like Mike. Did you have somebody?
Well, you know, let me, my dad was, I get my work ethic from my dad. My dad, I don't know a lot of men that work as hard as my dad does. I haven't met him. I can tell you that. My dad is a working machine. I mean, he's just incredible. His level of example he set for me was, so I get my work ethic from him. No other man taught me work ethic than he did. My mother put a lot of pressure because my mother was a typical Middle Eastern mom that nothing was ever enough. So that expectation always having to rise. And I think sometimes people get pleased too easily with performances people do or their kids do. And I know in some parenting books will say, well, that's not good because you're going to raise kids that are, you know, hypomanic and et cetera, et cetera. Every single president is a hypomanic. Every single CEO, founders, anybody that did anything crazy is a little bit weird because they had parents that had a little bit more expectation and pressure on them than the rest. But the one thing I will tell you is I had an uncle. His name was Luther Lazar. Okay. And Luther was a man in Iran whose story is a very interesting story. One day he's at a bar and he's just a regular guy. He's at this side of the bar. This is a story everyone talked about for years and decades. He's at a bar on this side, and this man says, I have a massive truck that I have to sell. Not an 18-wheeler, the bigger ones that go 10 miles an hour, that they move a ton of load, okay?
Yeah.
His load was from Iran to Russia, and he was doing that. But he didn't have any loads for 6 months. He doesn't have any money. He says, I want to sell this truck. I says, okay. He says, do you know anybody? He says, I don't know anybody. Then he comes to the bathroom, comes back. He runs to a guy on the other side of the bar. And this guy says, listen, I don't know if you know or not, I have a very big load that I want to move from here to Russia. Do you know anybody that owns a big truck? So he says, wait a minute. Are you willing to advance the money? He says, sure. He says, if you advance me the $5,000, he doesn't tell him. He says, I have a truck. He gets the $5,000, comes to the side of the bar. He buys the truck from this guy, does the load, comes back. That helps him become a millionaire. So he comes to the States at a time where the dollar is only $7 to man. Today, to buy $1, you're spending $5,000 to $10,000 to man. So he comes to America with a lot of money, starts businesses, owns golf courses, owns hotels, and he lives in this 7,200 square foot house in Upland, California, right next to Snoop Dogg, which every summer I get a chance to go visit once a summer. And I'd go to his house, he had a pool table with a picture of presidents and Al Gore, and he had this picture with his family, white, everyone's dressed white. And they had this massive kitchen where everybody would be in the morning and they'd have breakfast together, a massive office. In his bedroom, there was this big bathtub that he and his wife would make babies with, and, you know, swimming pool in the back, basketball court, tennis court. I said, man, what is this guy doing? My dad said he owns a business. I says, okay, that's good to keep in mind because I kind of want this life. Wow. And I was 13, 14 years old when I saw this. And he used to own a very, very big vineyard in Iran that we used to go to summertime once a summer. And I had those memories. So I realized, hey, money is in ownership and business.
You kept that picture in your mind growing up.
I did. I just didn't know if I could do it. That's the challenge. I don't know if I could do it because I was never the smartest kid. I didn't have any of the elements that, I felt I had anything that was going to be an edge over my peers at the time. That's why I just want to join the Army. And I was planning on doing the Army for 20 years. I was going to be in the Army for 20, 30 years and just stay in because military was safe. It was good. I liked order. It was going to work out for me pretty well. Once I got in, you travel, you got benefits. Mm-hmm. But eventually I got out.
But what made you get out? Why didn't you do 20 years?
I got a call from a friend named Kogan who called me and told me that you shouldn't stay in the Army. And I said, why? He says, because you are the Middle Eastern Will Smith. That's what he would call me. I said, I'm the Middle Eastern. I said, man, listen, you're trying to make me feel, is it because I got big ears? Because that reference I get, he says, no, man, you got big ears, you're tall, but you kind of have his personality. And he says, why don't you get out and do something else? He says, go, into bodybuilding, go sell something. So I got out. My sister got me a job at Bally's. And I had one person that believed in me and I got out of the military.
What was that friend's name?
Kogan Alaverdian, sweetheart of a guy.
Where is he at? Where does he live?
He lives in LA, man. He lives in LA. And by the way, I returned a favor to him when he came back. I showed him a very, very good time one week. He stayed with me. I took him to Florida, and we had a wonderful time in Florida. He will remember the week in Florida till today. So
you definitely need to take care of that guy. And the reason why I say that is because he saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself at that time.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Till today, I write about him in every book. I give him credit in every video. Every time I speak somewhere, he recently started a business, which I'm proud of him. I helped sell his product that he has, this one product that he has now selling at Bed Bath. Is it called Bed Bath & Beyond? Bed Bath & Beyond and Amazon. Good guy. Very good guy. Good kid. Good family guy. 3 kids. Just a guy you want to see win, man. He's a good sweetheart. I hope he wins big.
Okay, so you're growing a family, you have PHP going on and all this. Is it hard? Or are you waking up in a day and you're stressed like, oh my gosh, I have all this? Or are you like waking up happy like I'm fulfilling my dream? What's the thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, listen, a big part of a lot of responsibility is trying to calm yourself down to not really overwhelm yourself with all the responsibilities you have. Because if you do that, man, you're going to have a panic attack every day. And that happened to me back in 2012 when I was like, how am I going to handle this? How am I going to handle this? First time I had kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, kids, cost, family, wife, business. This is just too much. But, it's I believe in a higher power. And when you believe in a higher power, I understand I'm not trying to be God. Some people have a God syndrome. They want to be God. I have zero desire to be God. I just want to make sure I got the highest power around me, protecting me and being with me in spirit and my family, and I'm going to do my part. So because I have that level of trust in it, my confidence is at the highest level because I know a very, very big calling is there and a big responsibility is there, and I want to deliver. Simple as that.
It's funny you said the word confident because when I'm watching your videos, I watch the whole package, and I see you go into certain rooms, and I saw the video you were visiting all your offices. And I say, I can't see any nervousness in this guy. I see this guy just walk in and command the room. And I know sometimes those things are hidden. Are you fearful or are you walking in confident like you own the place? Like what's going through your mind when you're doing these things?
I like people, man. I'm really curious about people. Literally, I really like people. My favorite product in the world is people. I can't get enough of them. Truly. I mean, I don't know what I did in my past life, if I did have a past life, but I guarantee it had to do with people.
Really?
So for me, I mean, the reaction you get from people's faces when you see them overcoming a challenge or growing or putting up certain performance or numbers they haven't done before, that's exciting. So the pressure also gets lifted when you start being resolved about the decisions you're making and you trust the decisions that you're making and you trust the philosophies you're teaching and living, and then your actions are aligned with your values and principles, you don't have a lot of things to be nervous about when you're aligned with your values and principles.
I like that. So what do you see the end part of this book? What do you see PHP going, or where do you want to see it go?
Yeah. So PHP is going to be the biggest financial marketing organization in America. We'll have the most licensed agents in America. We will bring sexy back to the insurance industry. Literally, no one looks at insurance and thinks it's sexy. Everybody thinks about life insurance and they think about a 59-year-old white male wearing Brooks Brothers clothes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We got to change it up, man. We dress different. We talk different. We walk different. We like people. We just kind of like to sit down and share with them how we can help them. But also on the other side, this company is going to put more kids into the White House than any other company in the history of mankind. We will have more kids become presidents, governors, senators than any other company in the history of mankind. We just will, because what we're teaching behind closed doors, nobody else is teaching. I just know that.
Wow. Your last statement that you just said is very powerful. So when kids come through this the first time, they're just becoming agents and they're going through this. You're changing the mindset of the people that walk through those doors.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. We're working on that. We instill certain teaching into the parents and the leaders who are passing it down. And we like having kids around. When the kids are around and they see this and they speak the language at that age, can you imagine the edge they have over someone like me at 21 or 22? If they start thinking like that at 6 years old, oh my gosh. Oh yeah, we'll put a lot of people into the White House. You better believe the spirit of capitalism is going to be around at least for the next 100 years. If we're around, if we're in business, the spirit of capitalism is going to have a champion that's going to keep pushing it. We're going to do our part. Obviously, a lot of other people out there are doing a fantastic job. But sometimes capitalism gets a black eye. When the educational system is against capitalism, when many of the universities are against capitalism, when many of the media channels are against capitalism, capitalism needs some champions to keep spreading the message. So.
Okay. I'm going to ask you just a few more questions. And the one question I want to ask you is, what time do you get up in the morning? I'm
a 5:30 guy. So I'm a 5:30 guy. I do well with 4 to 6 hours of sleep. I don't sleep early. Last night I slept at 1:30. My brain is going. I had a lot I was thinking about last night, but my brain is going. Yeah, that's why Alaska is a good place. You know what's a good vacation for me? When anywhere in the world that doesn't have phone service. It's a very good place. You know what I'm saying? Like in a top mountain, in a corner, right next to a nice market where you can cook some food, but there's zero service, zero Wi-Fi. That's a good place for me.
See, I'm kind of like you. I'm an ADHD guy, and I get distracted very easily. And when I go out in the wilderness, this is one spot I vacation at, and I have just a sense of calm when I go in that place. Okay. So you heard you say 1:30. So you're not the 9 to 5 guy. You probably don't believe in that system.
No. No, not at all. I mean, like not 1%. I don't think it's healthy for you to only work 9 to 5. I don't think it's healthy. I'm the opposite. You got these guys writing books about how to only work 4 hours a week, Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week. Yeah. I think it's not healthy. I think it's absolutely not healthy. I think it's selfish, believe it or not.
Wow.
The next generation is counting on us. For me to just say, I'm going to work 4 hours and get checks and just go kick back and go fishing everywhere and go smoke weed every single day. And, if you choose to smoke weed, more power to you. But if I just want to go kick back and not bring value back, I don't know. I'm more in the place of you addressing your talents and finding out a way to maximize your talents. That's the game I'm in.
Wow.
And that's why I'm not liked by everybody, because some people sit there and say, you're too hard, you're too this. Listen, I'm not for everybody. But this message is needed because the easiest story to sell right now, listen, if you're a politician today, the easiest thing to campaign around is what? The 4-letter F word, free. It is so easy with that word. Just get up there on stage and say you're going to give something away for free. You'll get 51% of the votes.
Yeah.
Get up there on stage and say, guys, we got to get to work. People are going to say you're greedy, all you care about is money, and ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. By the way, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I voted both liberal and I voted Republican. I voted for Clinton and I voted for Bush. So I'm not, when I say a Bush, I'm not talking about a Bush. The other Bush, I was too young tonight. I don't want to be too much in the open.
Yeah.
But I'm an independent. I just think economically, we need help. I think we really need help. And, you know, we're going to keep talking about it. So
Good. So, Patrick, I want to thank you for joining us. Tell everybody where we can find you.
yeah, so if you go on YouTube and you just type in entrepreneur, half the videos that'll come up will probably be us. You'll find a channel called Valuetainment. You can see a lot of the philosophies and teachings that I have on there. And then you can follow me on Instagram. I get back typically on messages on Instagram and Snapchat. My Snapchat account is BetDavid19. My Instagram is Patrick Bet David. Just put it all together. Patrick Bet David. I'm sure you're going to add a link on the bottom so people can see it.
Yes. Well, thank you, sir, for joining us today. And I know you're a busy guy, so I definitely appreciate this.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Okay. Well, you take care, sir.
You as well. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.